Hello everyone, welcome to Victor Senior High School's virtual open house. I'm Mrs. Duckworth and I'm going to talk to you today about photography. I have been teaching photography here in Victor for 12 years, all since I've started working here. Just a quick, if you didn't watch the video about me, I wanted to make sure you got this information. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. I teach in multiple rooms and I share a classroom, so getting a hold of me through the phone is very difficult. But certainly if you would like to speak to me live, you can send me an email. We can set up a time to have that conversation. My website is there if you want to jot that down. But most importantly, I'm going to show you our Google Classroom page and talk about School Tool. That's the easiest way for you to kind of keep tabs on what's going on. So here's our Google Classroom page. If you have not joined as one of my students' guardians, you can ask them to invite you as a guardian, or you can get the class code to join from me and you can join that way. So when you go to the Google Classroom page, all the assignments show up, most recent at the top, and you can see only certain assignments are posted to certain students. Some post for my gold group and some post for my blue group. Sometimes I feel like the stream can be a little confusing. I think the best way to keep track of what's happening in photography is to go to the classwork tab. And you'll see a couple of things under virtual work. This is the work here that your students will have to do when they're home on the days that they're not at school. So I see my blue group on Mondays, and then on Wednesdays, I'll post the work for them. This was the work that was due last week. I post the work for them that's due the following week. So that's right here under the virtual work. So if you're trying to keep track of what your students should be doing on the days that they're home, under virtual work, that's the way to go. And sometimes it might direct you to something like a project. So the virtual work this week for my blue group is going to direct them to this assignment here, this rule of thirds and composition for my blue group. So the assignment and the information won't be posted in virtual work, but it will direct you to what assignment down under projects that they should be working on. So sometimes that's an easier way. I have some remote learners in photography, so there's links here to the Zooms for them to join. Your children can certainly join if they have to be quarantined at home, or if they're sick, unable to get to school for some reason, but they're well enough to participate in class. They can certainly join that Zoom link. I just ask that they shoot me an email and let me know so I can be prepared to admit them into the Zoom meeting. And then down here is just some of the materials and resources, things that the kids might need to be successful in class. And then you can check School Tool, and if you see, for example, maybe a 0 or a low grade for, say, the About Me selfie project, you can actually go to the Google Classroom page, check it out, see what the assignment is, and then be able to have an informed conversation with your kids about the work they're missing. So that's our Google Classroom page. If you need any help with that, let me know. All right, let's talk about what photography is. So photography is a half-year, half-credit course. It does count as an art credit that they can use towards the requirement that they need for a Regents diploma. You do not have to take any other classes prior to photography, any other art classes, because it's open for art and non-art majors. I have a lot of students who take the class because they think photography is fun and they want to learn more about it. And so they're absolutely able to join. In this course, we work with digital cameras and Macintosh computers. When we're working with the cameras, we really focus on improving compositional skills and picture taking skills, try to get the kids to forget about the Snapchat and focus on more conceptual, creative, and visually interesting photographs that they can turn into works of art. We do work with Photoshop in class, and I understand some of you are remote families, and we're working on different programs that students can use outside of school if they're unable to access Photoshop through the school. And we're going to work through that this year, because this year is definitely a little different than years past. Some assessment information for photography. Every week I give an assignment, photo taking assignment. It's weekly process and participation grade, but essentially it's a photo taking assignment, and I give them a theme. So if I see your child on Mondays in class, I will give them a presentation. We'll talk about the project. Let's say it's landscape. I'll show them some examples. And then they have until the following Monday when they come to class again to take 40 pictures based on that theme. And we do this every single week. So every week your students should be taking photographs of different projects based on different themes that I give them. There are sketchbooks associated with most assignments, and they're intended for brainstorming, helping students come up with ideas, for picture taking. They do some journaling, they do research, particularly on famous photographers, or they look at other photographers and their artwork for inspiration. And then we have projects that are sort of bigger and more conceptual than those weekly pictures. So for example, landscapes would just be a weekly contact sheet, weekly project, but a more conceptual project would be something like a social issue where they're creating a social messages poster based on an issue that's important to them. So we try to get some of those, maybe 4 or 5 of those done, the more conceptual projects throughout the year. I do also help your students learn how to use their digital camera if they have one. I don't teach it as part of the class because every student has a different camera. So trying to teach a lesson about 40 different cameras can be complicated, but I do suggest that students, if they have a camera that they don't know how to use, that they bring it in and I can sit down and help them. The breakdown of these assessments, those weekly contact sheets are worth 40% of their grade. The sketchbooks are worth 20, and then their projects are worth 40% of their grade as well. My expectations for students are pretty simple. They come to class prepared to learn with materials they need and a work-oriented attitude, particularly in these times when I only see them once a week. I ask that they appreciate and respect their own work and the work of others. Respect is really important in our classroom always. I ask that they communicate with me if they're struggling, if they're behind on a project, if they're having a hard time with the computer. I just say, you know, I have a kind heart. If there's an issue, come and talk to me and we can work through it together. I ask that they have an open mind and they experiment and they revise. Every student has an opportunity to redo any project that they've done previously, and they can redo it right up until the end of the 10-week marking period. The goal for that is if a student gets a grade they're unhappy with, then they're able to go back and revise and do it again for an improved grade. But more importantly, in my opinion, if they create something that they don't feel proud of, I'd like to give them the opportunity to go back and then redo it and do it better, hopefully. I also ask that they participate in a constructive manner, particularly if we have critiques and we discuss you know, constructively the pros and cons of someone's artwork. And then the last thing is I hope they enjoy the class. I hope they have fun. I hope they learn something and that they create some beautiful works of art and meaningful works of art, and that really that they bring those home and show them to you and maybe even post them on social media. I'll move my face over here so you can see my finger crossed. Some things to look forward to, hopefully. We typically have a faculty art show and music recital in October. This year we've postponed it until March or April, and we're hoping that that's still able to happen. We usually have a Random Acts of Art show, huge art show, hundreds and hundreds of works of art from almost every student in the district, and we have them in individual buildings. And that's usually the night of the budget vote. And again, hopefully that can happen. And then our last big thing is an art signing day for our college-bound art seniors. We have cake and we celebrate all the hard work that they've done for the last 13 years of their art career. That's usually the second Thursday in June, but again, no guarantees, and we might have to move that date around. If any of those things happen, we will certainly send communication home with your children and through our website and through Mr. Siesto's emails that he sends out. So that's all about photography. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great night.